Thank you. Thank you very much to the Chamber. Thank you to the fellow candidates, though I think that there are about 190 of them that are missing. Maybe that's the audience out there. But in all truthfulness, thank you to those who are putting their names forward, and thank you to the great Damien Couric, who's given me the chance to speak for the people of Canada and for Battle River-Crowfoot. But most of all, thank you to Battle River-Crowfoot, the region that feeds, powers, and protects this country. Feeds through the great ranchers and farmers, powers through the ingenious energy workers, and protects through the brave soldiers at CFB Wainwright. Makes me proud to be an Albertan. Now, in fairness, I'm from Calgary, born and raised, and Calgary's a little ways from Camrose, but there's a lot of shared values across this province and across this country. And my Alberta values taught me about faith, family, and freedom, hard work, helping your neighbors, and those values guided me to fight for the values of this region when I was leader of the party and member of parliament over a couple of decades, that I forced the Liberal government to get rid of their carbon tax, which is a local issue in rural communities, forced the debate on developing our resources, slowing down out-of-control immigration, cracking down on drugs and crime. And now I want to take the local issues and provide national leadership to fight against the electric vehicle mandate, because driving a pickup truck is a local issue in the communities across this region. To fight for law-abiding firearms owners, to fight for farmers, and to expand our military. These are local issues that require national leadership, and it would be a privilege to provide.
So many Canadians recall when a single income such as that of a postal worker, assembly line worker, or rig hand was sufficient to support a family. Today, that is increasingly no longer the case. So what specific measures would you propose to meaningfully improve affordability and economic security for everyday Canadians?
The cause of inflation is government. Cost, yes, it's very simple. Supply and demand. The government is boosting demand and limiting supply. They're boosting demand through out-of-control immigration and money printing that adds more money and people than new products for them to buy. And they're restricting the supply of things by blocking everything from home building to natural resource development. So what's the solution? We need to cut back on immigration. In fact, we need to have negative population growth for the next several years as more people leave than come. We need to slash bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid, corporate welfare, and handouts to fraudulent refugees. And we need to unlock our resources to produce cheap energy and affordable homes. So let's produce more stuff rather than adding more people and more money.
So this one's immigration and population growth. So Alberta's population, we've already heard some of this already and some of the answers, but Alberta's population is growing rapidly, raising concerns about pressure on public services, the treatment of newcomers, and the ability of infrastructure to keep pace. Do you support increased immigration, and how would you ensure newcomers are protected and supported while ensuring services can meet the demands of a growing population?
Immigration is great when it's done right.
Thank you, Ashley. Pierre.
I agree, and we did it right for 150 plus years, whether it was the frontier pioneers who came and settled the prairies, or the great Italians and Portuguese who came and built roads and founded families across Canada, or my wife who came as a refugee. Her dad picked fruit in a farm field so that he could pay the rent, and now they're a successful story. But over the last 10 years, the Liberals have adopted a post-nationalist ideology. They call it the Century Initiative, to triple our population, to favor globalist interests and multinational corporations at our expense. They've driven down wages with excess temporary foreign workers, with abusing the international student program and allowing fraudulent and often criminal arrivals to come in and abuse our system. That abuse must stop. We must have more people leaving than coming over the next several years as we bring down our population, allow our health care, our housing, our job market.
This one is around government accountability and democracy. So given that several candidates do not reside within the boundaries of this riding, what does local representation mean to you? And what specific actions will you undertake to ensure the perspectives and priorities of the constituents are authentically represented?
Thank you very much. Look, I'll be honest, having a leader of a political party as your local member of parliament is a trade-off. On the one hand, the leader, in truth, lives in hotel rooms, in low-budget hotel rooms across the country. I can assure you, they live in St. John's, Newfoundland one night, and in Sault Ste. Marie the next, and maybe Port Alberni after that. At the other side, though, is that leader can bring a very powerful megaphone to the local issues of the community. For example, getting a pipeline built from Hardisty over to Prince Rupert or to Kitimat, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Protecting your right to own a hunting rifle, that is a local issue that requires national leadership. Fixing the prison in Drumheller is a local issue that needs national leadership. I will provide that strong.
This one is around healthcare and social services. So Canada's public healthcare system is a core part of our identity, yet many are concerned about the quiet rise of privatization, services being outsourced, user fees increasing, and private clinics becoming more common. Do you believe this trend threatens universal healthcare? And what would you do to protect and strengthen our public system?
Quite frankly, it's the Liberal government in Ottawa that has denigrated our healthcare system. To start with the out-of-control population growth of particularly the last 5 years, our ratio of patient to doctor is now worse than it's ever been. We need to cap immigration to ensure that we can add doctors and nurses faster than we add people. Second, we need to grow our economy faster because our federal healthcare transfer grows at the same rate as our economy. And that means unleashing our resources, and lowering taxes, and making our economy stronger. And third, we have 20,000 immigrant doctors, 32,000 immigrant nurses who cannot work because they can't get a license. We have a red seal that's already in place for the trades, a national license for the licensed trades. We should do the same thing with a blue seal based on a high standard that immigrant doctors can take a test, prove they're qualified, and get to work in our hospital.
Government accountability and democracy. So serious concerns have been raised regarding the fairness and effectiveness of Canada's electoral system. What is your position on electoral reform, and do you support transitioning away from the current first-past-the-post model? If so, what alternative system would you advocate for?
Well, first of all, this longest ballot thing is a total scam, and it must be stopped. I'm the only leader that this interest group seems to have targeted for some reason, and that I find interesting, but it is a total scam, and there is no good public interest reason to do it. I think anybody should be allowed to run, but they should have to get unique signatures, and they should have a unique financial agent. If you did that, you'd guarantee this would never happen again. When God willing, if I have your support and I get to Parliament, I will put forward legislative changes to make sure that this never happens again anywhere in Canada. And speaking of accountability, we need to build on Stephen Harper's Accountability Act to crack down on the loopholes that Liberals, including Mark Carney, have exploited. We need to ensure that our leaders are working for you and not for their private profit. Thank you.
So this next question will start with you, Pierre. It's around agriculture and rural development. So how will you support farmers and rural communities in adapting to the growing impacts of climate change, such as droughts, wildfires, and extreme weather, while also promoting sustainable agricultural practices, rural infrastructure, and rural economic development?
Well, there's a lot in that question. Let's start with infrastructure. And I was very pleased to meet with the special areas, OIN and special areas representatives who are working on getting a direct train route that would allow produce to go through Camrose straight to the west coast rather than having to go all the way east to Saskatoon. Right now, farmers from the area have to add 600 kilometers of extra transit in the wrong direction in order to get to the west coast and ship to world markets. And I will hope to work with the region to try and get that short line track completed. I know that Damien has done great work on it. But we also need to do other things. We need to get rid of the liberal regulations that are cracking down on our farmers, get rid of the industrial carbon tax that's driving up the cost of fertilizer in this country. We need to respect the firearms rights of our farmers and allow them to use.
So around education and workforce development, student loans are a giant financial burden to young Canadians, but education is required for even basic jobs. Given restrictions on international students and a lack of university funding, how will you ensure Canadians can access affordable, top-tier educations without drowning in debt?
Bluntly speaking, this generation of youth has been totally screwed like never before. Start with their wages. The government's bringing in unprecedented numbers of low-wage temporary foreign workers, taking away the retail, accommodation, and restaurant jobs that normally paid the tuition of our youth. That has to stop. We have to cut back on that. Secondly, our universities are not equipping people with the right skills. I got a university education, U of C, it was great. But I'll tell you what we need is more emphasis on the trades. We need more of the people who can make stuff, move stuff, fix stuff, and move stuff. And we need to shift more of our resources to making it possible for our young people to sign on to the trades. And finally, we need to remove the red tape and the taxes to build homes that our young people can actually afford so that when they graduate with student debt, they can still afford to buy a home and start a family and build a Canadian. Well, thank you very much. And thank you to all the candidates on the stage. I think it's been a great debate. What do you think? A great conversation. And it's not even over yet. And I want to thank all of you. And most importantly, in addition to the great Damien Couric, who's mentoring me and teaching me every day things I didn't know. He tells me, I'm not a farmer, but he tells me if I were that I'd be outstanding in my field. And his mentor, Kevin Sorensen, my long-standing friend who served you. You've had great representation here. And thank you to all the people of Battle River-Crowfoot. I want to tell you it's been a privilege to get to know you better. And I have to say, it's been a lot of fun. It's been great fun to be on the ranches and the farms, to be out at the rodeos and the bronc matches, and even to whirl around a little bit in Riley on the four-wheeler. I might still get a ticket at some point for that. But, my mission here is to give national leadership to the issues that are of local importance. For example, reversing that EV mandate to allow you to drive your truck, that is a local issue. And it will take national leadership to overturn it the way I overturned the carbon tax. Your right to protect and keep your firearms, that is a local issue if you're a hunter in Empress or Trochu or Consort. Cutting taxes, or for example, letting our farmers have zero capital gains when they reinvest the proceeds in our communities, that is a local issue. Reforming our prisons so that our guards down in Drumheller are safe, that's a local issue that requires national leadership. Fighting against the Chinese tariffs on our canola, that is a local issue. These local issues require strong national leadership, and it would be the privilege of my life to provide both the local representation and the national leadership to the community.